Have you ever just reflected back on your life and realized just how much you minimized your existence and practically made yourself invisible to the world? Because I do. I definitely have, you know. I recently received a gift for my upcoming 28th birthday, and it was my high school senior yearbook. You know, my best friend had gifted it to me. And I was so ecstatic for getting this, and I still am happy about it, But, I'm just like reminiscing and whatnot. But, and there's always a but, as I'm scrolling through photos of events, clubs, activities, and whatnot, I realized that out of all of my smiling and bubbly and just really high school spirited, classmates at the time, I was only featured 3 times in that entire yearbook. And of those 3, one of which was just my senior photo anyways. So, and I will say that it's not because I wasn't there necessarily. It was pretty much because I was just too damn afraid to take up space. So if you ever felt like you were practically invisible or that you don't deserve to be seen, this video's for you. I want to get into why we minimize ourselves, the repercussions of shrinking ourselves, why we should demand space, and how you and myself can step into our power. By the end of this video, I hope to help you stop hiding and take up the space that's rightfully yours. This can apply to interpersonal relationships, work, or even your day-to-day life. I personally promise you that we collectively make infinite leaps of progress when you begin to occupy these seemingly vacant spots in the world, when you fully occupy your God-given space. I'm looking at my notes. Don't mind me. So, what does it mean to take up space to you? Leave a comment down below, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What does it mean to take up space? I personally was under the false impression that it meant to be likable, popular, smart, aggressive even, but it's actually so much more than that. To me, taking up space means to show up for yourself as yourself. It means to know that you have inherent value just as you are naturally. It's about not shying away from yourself, no matter the environment or the people around you. Pretty much at any given point in time. This can look different for a lot of people in terms of what it means to show up as themselves. And that's important to note because we don't want to get into comparing ourselves, of course. We just want to make sure we aren't shying away from the fact that we ourselves, our perspectives, our presence, thoughts, and so on deserve to hold as much space as the person next to us. We aren't shrinking ourselves away any longer to make other people comfortable or denying ourselves our birthright. So, my next point is why people don't take up space. You might wonder why it's important. Why if it's so important, why aren't more people doing it? Why aren't more people taking up space? And speaking from my personal experience, it's really not as easy as it seems. It really doesn't seem easy. But being honest with you, it doesn't seem easy at all, actually. So maybe as a kid, you were often silenced by your parents, guardians, or other various adults in your life to stay in a child's place, or various other meanings of that. Maybe you were bullied in school and so like a negative spotlight was sort of placed on you as the bullied or victim student, or peer, and you just kind of withdrew into yourself and hid yourself away to not stand out to these bullies anymore. That's another way of sort of shying yourself away and just kind of not taking up space, essentially. Maybe you were that friend that was always sort of left out of the plans, or felt like, like a third wheel in your own friend group, or a third party, The list goes on as to why people hide themselves. In my case, throughout my grade school years, I've just never felt enough. I never felt good enough that what I had to say mattered at all. So I just kind of stayed quiet and gained my reputation as this quiet girl. And it reminds me of when I tried to stand out at one point and I tried to take up space, and it failed. I guess at the time, looking back, it didn't really fail, but it was something to be learned from. But I had commented on a Facebook post that these popular girls had made, and I had said, oh, like it was a picture of our old teacher, our fifth grade teacher, and I commented on it. I'm like, oh my gosh, she was the best teacher ever. And then like I miss her so much and stuff like that. And I wasn't, like I said, I was the quiet, shy girl. So like this was like sort of out there behavior for me, but I just did it, and I'm kind of proud of myself for doing it. But one comment that stood out to me was that one of the popular girls had mentioned, she had wrote back to me, she said, what do you mean? Like you were like the shyest person ever. And it kind of stung. I know it doesn't make sense as to why it would sting, but to me, like, it makes sense, like it just kind of was like, oh, like I'm no longer valid because I wasn't really there, like I was the quiet person. I wasn't there. Like my presence wasn't really known, so that hurt. And, really when I reflect back, I realized how much I just kind of held myself back and was essentially my own op or enemy. So again, you might ask, why does it matter? Why can't I just remain hidden? And to me, it matters for about 4 reasons, So one of the reasons being personal growth. The second reason being breaking negative cycles. The third reason being inspiring others and encouraging others. And the fourth reason being opening new pathways. So on that note, with the first point of personal growth, through taking up space, it's important because you can shift your own self-concept, essentially. You stop holding back and you step outside of your comfort zone, But as I said earlier in the beginning of this video, the cons of that are, of course, that you stay stagnant and remain in place. You don't go out of your comfort zone, and you don't make any progress, any notable progress at least, And so the second point that I mentioned was breaking a negative cycle. So you can essentially break your cycle of invisibility. You can challenge yourself and your pre-existing patterns. And the cons of not doing that, are sort of reinforcing these patterns and those limiting self-beliefs that you have. My third reason is, which is really important, is inspiring others. So showing others that they can take up space as well. By you putting yourself out there and sort of just like, I can't think of the word for it right now, but just like putting yourself out there and just really just owning yourself, It lets other people know that it's okay, especially people that are similar to you, I guess, so to speak. It lets them know that being themselves is acceptable, whether it's you're weird, quirky, or watch anime, other anime nerds out there that want to talk about it, or, whether you're a cosplayer, whether you're, I don't know, just really anything, whatever you want to do, even a furry, whatever, And my fourth reason is that it opens new pathways of why it's important. So that's my fourth reason is why it's important, is that it opens new pathways. So this can be new memories, relationships, work-related sort of opportunities, And the cons obviously are lost opportunities, you miss out on things, and it can maybe feel as though someone else is living your life instead of you. So let's get into what this actually means, or what actually looks like in the real world in an applicable way to take up space. Because as I said, there's a lot of components to it. So more than I can cover in this video at least. So, but I can think of 5 different ways alone right now to really just like implement taking up space and really owning who you are, essentially, and definitely unapologetically. So my first way of what it looks like is to speaking up and finding your voice. Weighing in your opinions in the classroom, at family gatherings or dinners, in the workplace, or even with your spouse, even your friends. Like if you have something to say, especially an idea, then say it and own it. You have to remember that your thoughts and perspectives and your feelings, they hold as much value, again, as the person next to you. So, and in some cases, this can ultimately change the course of your life, just by finding your voice and really saying what you mean and saying it, And so find your voice and speak up. So my next point is owning your physical presence. So this means walking into a room with the knowledge and the confidence that you have every right to be there, like anybody else. So whether that means letting out your contagious laughter, when you find something funny, or even the opposite of that, and not laughing when everybody else is laughing because you're just like, well, I didn't find it funny, and stand out in that way, so people can just be like, oh, okay, well. And just being authentically yourself. Next, I want to say is pursuing your passions or hobbies. So fully immersing yourself in your hobbies. You don't have to broadcast them to still be taking up space, For me, I have a love-hate relationship with singing and art, despite it being kind of what my channel was originated on, at least for singing, and that's rooted in my issues with a fear of being seen or noticed or put out there. And so what I do to, combat this is I post videos on YouTube. Again, you don't have to broadcast it, but for me, my deeper issues is just I didn't want to be put out there. So now I'm forcing myself to be put out there, and I'm taking up space because, my voice is just as valid. It might not sound like everybody else out there. I have my own unique singing voice, and I just have to accept that. I think that's heavy for me to hear right now. Because I still struggle with it greatly, and sometimes it makes me emotional and I cry sometimes, but yeah. So that's my thing, but whatever yours looks like looks way different than mine. So pursue your hobbies, and take up space in your hobbies. My next point is boundary setting. So taking up space also means standing on business and being able to say no with full confidence. Especially when something or someone isn't serving you or is in complete violation of your values. This one is uncomfortable for a lot of people for various reasons, especially for people pleasers like myself, but it is a great weapon to have in your arsenal. My last reason, or way of what it looks like, is to celebrate you, essentially. So taking up space can look like being your own biggest cheerleader as opposed to being your own biggest critic. So this means, to stop downplaying all of your accomplishments and all the great feats that you've made and the strides that you've taken, and acknowledge them. Cheer yourself on. Be like, yeah, I did that. I'm proud of myself. Let's keep going. I am guilty of this because, I'm guilty of it. And more than I care to admit, that I do downplay a lot of my accomplishments, that I made and the progress that I made. But through therapy, I've vastly improved this skill a lot. We all deserve to take up space in this world, whether it's through owning your presence, finding your voice, or setting boundaries. It all starts with small but intentional steps. I challenge you to find even just one way to take up space and tell me in the comments below what you did, because I would sincerely love to hear from you and, get a conversation going. If this video resonated with you in any sort of way, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs it or would love to hear this message. Thank you for your time. And remember to keep showing off, showing out, showing up, and taking up the space that you deserve. Thank you.